Hello and welcome everybody to the conversation on KSAT Plus. I'm your host, Stefania Jimenez. I'm so excited to be here with you today because this is our inaugural episode of the conversation. So first, let me start with exactly what we're doing. This is an opportunity for us to explore topics a little bit more in depth. Sometimes you watch our coverage here at KSAT and our stories, when you watch them on the news, they're just a minute and a half long and you think, geez, I have so many more questions. Well, that's what the conversation is about. It's really an opportunity for us to explore things a little bit more in depth and really to have a conversation with you because guess what? I like talking to you. So our first subject now is about home insurance. I know what you're thinking. It's not exactly the sexiest subject, but it is one that affects each and every one of us, whether we own our homes or whether we rent, because either way, those costs get passed down to us. Everything, and I do mean everything, is going up these days. You know that your grocery bills are going extra high. I actually saw a figure that says that in the last 6 years, inflation or grocery prices have gone up by about 31%. That's continued to go up. Obviously, rent has gone up. Home prices have gone up. Well, you can also add home insurance to that list. So the question is, why exactly is this happening and what can we do about it? Well, right now I'm going to go to a special report so that we can focus on just that to answer those questions. When I went on social media and spoke about rising home insurance rates in Texas, many of you told me it was happening to you too. Lynn Kirkman said, quote, "My insurance went up 1K for the year." Michael Reta said, "Yes, it goes up every year." And Mary Helen Puente wrote, "Premiums are ridiculous." And the data backs you up. The Texas Department of Insurance sent KSAT this graph, and it shows rates increasing year after year. Even after premiums spiked by about 21% in 2023, they rose by another 19% last year. The TDI says on average, Texans pay about $2,800 a year for home insurance. According to the National Association of Realtors, that's $400 higher than the national rate in the U.S. So why is this happening?
Texas has seen an uptick in all kinds of events in terms of the frequency of, sometimes they call them billion-dollar storms.
That hailstorm was from this past Monday. Plus, we've also seen damage from windstorms. And who could forget the deep freeze of February 2021? That storm is blamed for killing 246 people in Texas and leaving tens of billions of dollars in damages. Inflation, rising home prices, and increased claims also explain the uptick in home insurance rates.
Raise your deductible.
Robert Bott is an insurance analyst for LendingTree and suggests ways to lower your insurance bill.
Having higher deductibles will decrease your rate,
Also, tell your insurance company about any improvements you've made.
like upgrading your electrical system or your plumbing or your heating. If you belong to a certain affinity group, employee association, or a alumni association, some companies also give you discounts for that.
All right, so I hope that that answered some of your questions. And that was basically a crash course in what's happening with home insurance, why rates are rising, and a little bit about what you can do about it. All right, so I know that we need to go over a lot of these subjects, and we're going to do that right after the break. So go get yourself a snack. When we come back, we're going to go over exactly what's happening, and also we're going to go over how we can save you money. So stay right where you are, and we'll see you on the other side of this break. Hello, and welcome back to the conversation. I'm your host, Stefania Jimenez. And yes, we continue our discussion right now about skyrocketing home insurance rates. So, first, we need to understand the problem as to how the rates have increased, how these numbers have changed from 2013 to 2024. So, now I'm going to take it in full so that you can look at these numbers. I know the moment that this chart pops up, your eyes shift all the way to the right because it's hard to miss those big bars. And that's important because those bars tell you how much rates spiked in 2023 and in 2024. 2023, the rates went up by 21%. 2024, you saw that the rates went up 19%. Obviously, not something that you really want to add to your budget, but nonetheless, it's something that seems like it's out of your control. And to put all of this in dollars and cents, because we could talk about percentages all we want, but it makes a difference when we actually see how much we're paying for all of this. So let's go to this. Take that up full. Okay. This also comes from the Texas Department of Insurance. Look at the 2019 numbers. In 2019, the average homeowner in Texas was paying, on average, $1,900 a year for home insurance. Okay, now I want your eyes to go all the way down and look at the 2023 number, $2,800 a year. So in just a span of 4 years, you were paying about $1,000 more per year. And you have to think that this was happening while also we were dealing with the pandemic, where everything else, right? Rising property values, also groceries were also getting more expensive. But let's kind of talk about keeping things into perspective, because you're looking at these rates here in Texas and you think, geez, we must be the highest in the country. Not necessarily so. I looked at this information on insurance.com because it's important to see what other states are dealing with. Oklahoma has the highest home insurance rates in the entire country. On average, according to insurance.com, the average homeowner there is paying $5,800 a year on their home insurance premiums. Maybe that doesn't help you, but it is important to know exactly what the rates are like for people who live in other states. Okay, so now, yes, I promise, we're getting closer to what you can do to fix the problem. Why are home insurance rates skyrocketing? I know that for me, I always think, why is this happening? And the answer, actually, you have an example of it that happened last week, severe weather events. Remember that hailstorm? Yeah, that's one of the reasons why rates are going up. We're seeing more of these in our state. Also, hurricanes, different storms. And again, who could forget that February freeze that we were dealing with in 2021? All of these things, because so many people had damage to their property and so many people gave in or submitted claims to their insurance companies, that's making it be that way for all of us. Then you have the rising rebuild costs. Remember when lumber, do you remember when lumber was going up, way up, and some people, especially in our area, were getting new homes built and they were discovering that the prices were really expensive because lumber was costing that much money and there were supply chain issues. Well, that's one of the issues why. Also, that's one of the reasons why. Also, if you look at when labor has also increased a lot. So that's getting tied in to rising rebuild costs. And I'm going to tell you the last one. I know you know that. Increased home values. All of us know that we've been paying more on our property taxes. They've steadily been increasing. Well, that also has an impact on your insurance, which reminds me of something else. I spoke with different insurance companies and they were saying that when your home value increases, you also need to tell your home insurance company that, because let's just say you bought your home and you paid $200,000 10 years ago. Okay, and let's just say that now your property is worth $300,000. Well, you need to tell your insurance company that, because God forbid something happens to your property, it's going to cost about $300,000 to replace it, right? If you continue with my example, well, you obviously, because if you don't do that, then you're going to have to go into your pocket to make up the difference. So that's why you need to keep your company in the loop, your insurance company in the loop, as to, how much your property values are increasing. Okay, now we're going to talk about what you can do to get a lower rate. And this is my favorite part of the conversation because it's the one that's going to save you money. So here's one. Shop for a lower rate and compare rates. That sounds obvious, right? Well, that website, helpinsure.com, helps you do that so easily. It's a one-stop shop where it literally tells you the average rates that people are paying for home insurance across our state. And that is also recommended by the Texas Department of Insurance. So Again, it comes highly recommended, and that's something that you can do. So instead of having to call up different home insurance companies individually, you just go to that website and you get the information right there. The next thing is tell your insurance company about any security systems improvements that you've made. So important because what that's telling them is that you're taking care of your home. And let's just say a lot of us have these smart cameras around our homes, right? Well, a lot of these smart cameras don't just alert us if somebody breaks into our home. It also alerts us if there's a flood or if there's a leak of any sort, right? You would get the notice directly to your phone. Well, that's something else. That's a home improvement. It's something that would tell the insurance company that if anything, any property damage happens, that you're on top of it. And that would essentially mitigate the damage. So that's something that could help you also. And don't be afraid to ask for a discount, negotiate. Ultimately, it gets really expensive for these insurance companies to get new customers. They want to keep you, especially if you're a loyal customer. And so tell them, hey, I'm thinking about shopping around or I have shopped around. What can you do for me? What are you going to do for me so that I can stay? The other thing is increasing deductibles. You may not want to go in that direction, but that is something that I asked insurance companies about, and they said that that's something that a lot of people are doing. It that will automatically lessen your home insurance premium if you do increase that deductible, considering that home insurance is something that you'll probably need during extreme situations. Okay, so we're having this conversation here, and I don't want to forget about the people in Texas who have been rejected by their home insurance companies. We're going to take a break, and I'm also going to have advice for you if that's you after the break. Welcome back to the conversation, my friends. Yes, I missed you. So, I don't want to forget about the people who have been rejected by their home insurance companies. I know that that's happening more and more. Many of you wrote to me on Facebook and you told me about that. Well, I do want to let you know that there is something called the Texas Fair Plan Association. You can use them to get limited home insurance coverage. Some people think this is a last resort, but you had to have been rejected by at least two home insurance companies in Texas in order to qualify for the Texas Fair Plan Association. So that's something that I want you to keep in mind if you ever get to that point. Hopefully you don't, but just so you know, that's an option. Also, when it comes to all of the stuff that we discussed here, and I know it's a lot of stuff to work through, I have an article online on our website, ksat.com. You just look up our article about home insurance rates. We have a list of links where you can get information about all of this. You can compare different rates. Also, I shared a video from the Texas Department of Insurance that goes over how you can lower rates. No shame in how we learn. You know, some of us need to watch a video or we need to visualize how all of these things work. Well, there's a video on there that, again, I have a link to that goes over how you can lower your insurance rates. I really hope that all of this helps. And, we're doing this series, this new digital series, because of you. We want to help you with any problems that you may have and find solutions. That's ultimately what the conversation is all about. I love chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Conversation.